Protect yourself and your family from unexpected challenges. Consider accident-only income protection. Click the link in the description to find out more.
You want anything bad enough? Don't make excuses. You gotta lose your time and your sleep for it. You find a way.
Boxing King Media in association with SaveMoreMoney.com. We're at the Ingle gym. Dominic Ingle supporting a brand spanking new Gillet. The fans have been complaining. Is it Gillet? Gillet? Yeah, I don't know what it is.
It's I'm in green. I mean, all in green today. Bottoms, gilet, top. Seasonal. It's getting to Christmas, and the Christmas colours are red, green, white. So yeah, I'm seasonal, but I'm in green, and also camouflaged as well. To go under the radar a little bit.
Well, all the ones that are bored of seeing you in that dark grey one, they've got something new to look at. Just a shout out to our sponsors at SaveMoreMoney.com. People who want to save money this Christmas, hit the link. The link will be on the screen right now. Some great deals on for people who, all types of insurances, etc. Dom, first thing I've got to mention, just seen. I think last time I interviewed you, you was working with a chap called Pete who writes, and he was suffering from like substance abuse and all that kind of stuff. And I think his social worker kind of came in and dropped him on your hands and told you to kind of babysit him or look after him.
Well, we actually went and rescued him from down in Northampton. Actually, he was ruining himself in his house, and so he's been up to Sheffield. It must be nearly 7 weeks now. We've got him in the Galapad. Got him straightened out his training, exercising, lifting weights, on a good diet, and he's an author, and he's actually just nearly wrote his 15th or 16th book, 30,000 words. He's just in the editing process, and that's going to be coming out in the new year. It's going to be boxing related, and thanks to the last interview, we got a couple of sponsors on board who sent him some money to keep him on track and pay for his food and his rent. So yeah, it was a good little interview, and he's doing really well.
I'm genuinely happy for him because people may think, oh, these are like plugs for your diet and nutrition kind of stuff that where you're helping people, but this is quite an interesting case because, like I said, he was a bit different, suffering from mental health issues and substance abuse, and I think he said that the book he was writing, he kind of just stopped doing it. But the fact that he's saying he's managed to get the book back on and he's clearly lost shitloads of weight.
Well, you saw him the last time he came here, and what a difference 7 weeks has made. So the proof's in the pudding.
Definitely is. Moving on, I want to speak to you about the fallout of this Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight. Is officially now not happening. They were talking about Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for February 3rd. Where I understand it, from Conor's side, they feel they're being cleared by the WBC, and the NADP have overturned the suspension. I don't know exactly the reasons, that there's suggestions that, there's a technicality over him not having a British Boxing Board licence. I don't know if that's official or not, but the Boxing Board are saying he's not been through their process. So because of that, they can't license him. And so this argument continues. Chris Eubank Jr. has allegedly asked for too much money this time. But we don't know what the figure is. He did originally signed to fight Conor literally a few months ago, but now he's obviously asking for more money from, that's what Eddie said. What do you think with regards to Conor's situation? What needs to be the end point to kind of rectifying that with the British Boxing Board? Does he need to just go through their process, or should he stand his ground based on what he's got?
Well, the biggest fight out there that everybody wants to see, there's no bigger fight than Benn Eubank. And it's got to be in England to get the gate. It could be, they could make that fight in another country and just disregard the Boxing Board of Control, but that would mean that Eubank would have to give up his British licence, because if he was to box abroad and as a British licence holder, he'd have to be sanctioned. He'd have to be given the clearance by the Board of Control to box abroad. But he's not going to probably do that. So the money in this fight is got to be in the UK. And the only way that can be is if both Conor Benn and Eubank haven't got, a British Boxing Board of Control licence, and nobody involved on a British Boxing Control licence can be involved in that fight. That means Eddie, if he's actually the one who's on the promoter's licence, the officials, because when you've been banned, you can't, from a particular organisation like the British Boxing Board of Control, you can't even spar with people who are licensed by the Border Control. You can't have any dealings with anybody licensed by the British Boxing Border Control. You get blackballed, so they make it very difficult for you to fight in the UK. And I can't even remember how long this has been going on. Has it been nearly going on 2 years? If it had just gone through the normal process, his ban might have been up by now. He had one fight. He's had one fight. There's ways around it, but whether it's going to be profitable enough for Eddie and him to get around it, because obviously the name is Eubank. Who else could he fight, really? Who's going to kind of draw that attraction apart from that one fight? And is Chris Eubank going to put his livelihood on the line just for that one big payday when he could maybe get 2 or 3 smaller paydays with wins and keep winning? It's not, why should he put his neck on the chopping block and affect his career? Because so far he's got through unscathed, hasn't he? He's kept his British Border Control licence, he's had wins and losses, he's carried on, he's made money, he's got his reputation intact, and that's what it's about in boxing, really.
If you're Conor Benn, what do you do based on 2 years on, still no conclusion to this matter? Should he just go through the boxing board process? But it sounds like if he does go through that process, they will go down the strict liability route and ban him potentially. That's how I'm reading it. Or does he stand his ground and go by what the NADP have done, overturn the suspension based on whatever the reasoning is, and also the WBC clearing him?
Well, the only thing he can really do short term, he's not particularly old, but time's passing him by. He's just probably got to knock this Eubank fight on the head and start looking for other paths for his boxing career. Years ago when his dad, I think, got beat by Eubank the first time, he went and had a career in America for so many fights and re-established himself and then came back. I think with Conor Benn now, they're going to make it very, very difficult. The Border Control are going to dig their heels in just to prove a point. He's going to find it very difficult to get that fight with Chris Eubank, and they probably should start looking for a different route in America for him against opponents. But the problem there is that there's good fighters in America who aren't going to be a big enough attraction to give him the paydays that they want and who could possibly beat him. So he's just between a rock and a hard place. It just shows you when you don't go down the proper route where it all ends up.
Definitely so. Moving on, we've not met since the big show in Saudi got announced. The first fight I'm going to talk to you about is Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin. First of all, I want to ask you, what do you make of Otto Wallin as a fighter? We obviously swimming against Tyson Fury. Do you rate him as a fighter?
He's a good fighter, and I think the first time really he came up on the radar of any note was when he boxed Tyson Fury. He kind of gave Tyson a few problems, but when I look at that fight, and I've watched it recently, he just looks to me like, Tyson wasn't particularly fit for that fight. He didn't seem particularly interested. He laboured for the win, but when he started to assert himself on Wallin, he got topside of him. Obviously, the cut affected him. He probably started panicking, thinking he could get stopped. But, I don't think Tyson was his best in that fight, and I think Wallin was, and I think that was Wallin's probably best performance to date. He got through a decent fight with Tyson. The fight with Anthony Joshua, since then, it just looks like to me they've kept him treading water. I don't think he's even boxed for a world title fight, and he's had quite a few fights. So I think that he's kind of been. You look at his last couple of fights; he's had a couple of 8-rounders as well, and he's not looked fantastic. Especially, I think he boxed. Was it Gassiev? The former cruiserweight champion, he boxed him, and that was a split decision, and he came up from cruiserweight, a few fights back, and at the end of his career, and he seems to have lost his youthful glow at Wallin since what he had against Tyson, and I just think he's southpaw. Joshua's fought Usyk twice, who's a very, very good southpaw. We know how those fights went. I just think what Anthony Joshua's got to do with this kid, he's got to close him down quickly and, overpower him, not give him any space, not give him any time to get confident. He can jab, he can box this kid. He's very good. He's very good southpaw on the jab. He can pop his way through fights. But Joshua's just got to go in and bully him and jump on him, take all his confidence out of him straight away, not let him settle. And that's the way Joshua's going to beat him. If he lets this kid get settled, this kid could just pop around him. So I don't think he's got enough power to trouble Joshua. He can frustrate him a little bit, but I don't think he's got enough power to trouble him. And, you know, Joshua might have to take a few licks to get on top of him and just power over him.
The reason I asked you what you thought of him is because I've spoke to a lot of people in the industry, and there's a lot of people picking Wallin, saying that he's going to cause you upset and it's a tricky fight. So, because obviously people tend to just downplay opponents, and I'm just thinking if he does beat him quite easily, it's worth probably commending. And just sticking with AJ, I saw Carl FROCH and also DEONTAY Wallin in the last few days bring up that narrative of AJ having, you know, issues with mental health, saying that, you know, he's mentally weak and mentally struggling. And I was sat there thinking the other day, if a heavyweight is stepping into the ring, they're risking getting knocked out by one shot. You're getting seen by millions of people. Surely, if you're mentally weak, as people are saying, you're not going to do that, are you? Surely, like, you've got to have a certain type of mental strength.
No, you're not. Look, the thing is, it's a different situation. If AJ's never made any money, and he needs to make money, and he's going to step in that ring no matter what to get the money. I've seen fighters do that. He's got plenty of money. He doesn't have to box. So you can more or less say, well, why is he doing it then? He's obviously... Look, every fighter has doubts, even Cole FROCH. And, you know, but you keep them under your hat. Kell Brook, you know, Billy Joe Saunders, Tyson Fury, they all have doubts. It's the fear what switches you on. So, you know, what is mental health? It can vary from a lot of things. It's a wide spectrum of, you know, definitions. But, you know, we've heard this so many times about Anthony Joshua, he's mentally weak and, you know, he's got mental health issues. Well, most fighters, to a certain degree, have got mental health issues. It's like, it's never been any different. You've got to have half... I always remember Frank Maloney saying, you've got to have half a screw loose to do this boxing. That's what he said, and, you know, that's the thing about boxers. So...
Kelly Maloney.
Sorry?
Kelly Maloney.
Kelly Maloney, but I never met him as Kelly, thankfully. Met him as Frank. But yeah, so it's like you can speculate all you want, as long if they're climbing into that ring. Well, sometimes that's the hardest bit, to actually get into the ring, and he's still putting himself on the line even after the losses that he's had. You know, he's still stepping in and trying to prove people wrong and trying to prove himself right, which you've got to commend him for that. So, like I said, with this fight, it's a tough enough fight. But the thing is, Anthony Joshua has got that power that if he catches you one or two or three decent shots and you're stood in front of him, he's got enough power to topple the likes of Wallin over. Like I say, Wallin's not a big puncher. He's not really a big enough puncher, really, to cause OJ any problems. And OJ's got to realise that early on. What's up if I said the wrong name?
You said OJ.
Oh, did I say OJ? Well...
It's brilliant because people pick up on this, and there'll be people flying in the comments.
One's a killer and one's a boxer, or a supposed killer. AJ, yeah.
I love it. Yeah, sorry, I completely lost my chain of thought. At least you know I'm listening. But yeah, as you were saying, but just kind of sticking with that. What must it be like because boxers obviously they're proud of the fact that they step into the ring. It's like a proper. How shall I put it? It's like a masculine type sport, and when other people are questioning that you're mentally weak, it must piss you off, that, innit? Like, because he must be watching all these interviews, people saying he's got this issue, that issue. Another perspective I want to put across to you is I spoke to Johnny the other week, Johnny Nelson, and he said that he feels AJ is cutting corners, and he was kind of referring to potentially maybe he went with Ben Davison to save money. But obviously, I did suggest, like, surely would he be looking to save money if he's got that kind of money?
Because you don't know what money's paying the trainers anyway. So I don't ever think it'd be a case of AJ being concerned about paying a coach the money. I think it's more AJ trying to find somebody who he's comfortable with training with. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what more. So if you get that connection and you feel comfortable with a coach, you're going to do that. I don't think it's about money. I think he's tried a lot of trainers, and what he'll find out eventually is that, I keep going back to this. I don't know exactly what the fallout was with him with Robert McCracken. Is that, I've said it before about trainers. Billy Graham was the best trainer for Ricky Hatton. For me, Robert McCracken for that period of AJ's career was the best trainer he's had so far. I don't think he's ever looked any better, since he wasn't training with Robert McCracken, with all the coaches he's had. So, it's a difficult one, but I don't think, that for somebody who's got so much money, like Anthony Joshua, let's say whatever he's paying, the coaches, whether it's 50 grand, 100 grand, 150 grand, it's all tax deductible. What's it matter? You pay peanuts, you get monkeys. So I don't think he'd be, looking to cut corners on the coaching side. I just think he's just trying to find somebody who he's really, really comfortable with, who he can believe in, and who believes in him.
Does he beat Otto Wallin, or do you think it's a tricky fight?
It's a tricky fight, but he's been, he had 2 difficult fights with Usyk, came through him, all right, he didn't get knocked out, and then he had 1 or 2 wins since, and he's won. So, he's still there, still doing it. He's, like I say, he's just got to jump on this kid. He can't let this kid get comfortable. AJ's the bigger kid. I think he's got the longer reach. He's just got to get on him, bully him, and not let this kid settle, and make him realise he's in with a. Wallin's never really fought at the level that AJ has. All right, he fought Tyson Fury, but I don't think Tyson Fury was the best version of himself when he boxed Wallin. And like I say, with AJ has boxed at them higher levels, even if he's lost. So AJ's got to have that mindset of just go out and put it on this kid and make him realise that he's fighting with a guy who's been at the elite level. And Wallin's never been anywhere near that. So, like I say, he's got to pressure him. He's got to go out with confidence. He's got a new trainer. Maybe Benn can tell him something a little bit different. Keep it basic, and get on top of this kid and get him out. within 6 or 8 rounds.
Does he?
He could do.
Sitting on the fence.
I'm not sitting up because I just look at Wallin's last couple of fights. Any heavyweight who's ticking over 8-round fights, and he's, like I say, Gassiev who's past his best, and a cruiserweight. I know he's a biggish kid, but like he looked a bit breathless in that fight, Wallin. He looked like he were labouring through it, and that was only September, I think. So there's not going to be much greater improvement since September to now. So, and AJ's, fighting quite regular. He's got a lot to prove, and there's a lot of stuff in front of him to fight for. The bigger fights, whether he fights Tyson or whether he gets Deontay Wilder, he's got everything to be motivated for. But Wallin just seems to be the high level opponent.
Interesting thoughts there. I want to speak to you about Jarrell Miller, also known as Baby Jake Miller in our chats. There's a lot of debate about whether he should have been given this payday in Saudi and given that opportunity to fight Daniel Dubois. But it is what it is. He's been given the opportunity to fight. So just a quick opinion on that. Do you think he should have been allowed to fight on that show? Obviously, I don't know the exact conclusion to his whole drug testing thing. I don't know if he just sat it out or whether he was. I don't think he officially was banned, actually.
Well, you know what? I just looked at another thing I'd look at. He was out. He's been out for roughly 4 years, was it? I think he stopped in 2018 and came back in 22. And I think reading between the lines, I think at the time he failed the test, he wasn't licensed, a bit like the Conor Benn situation. And the authority then, whoever it was, couldn't ban him. And then he failed another drug test, and whoever's jurisdiction that was did ban him. So at some point he's done a ban. I can't get to the bottom of it, but he has been banned. And he had 2 years out. He's had 4 years out altogether. So somewhere in there's been a ban, and it looks like he served his time. So, and he's allowed to fight. I don't know if he's boxed in America since. So he must have been licensed by, one of the states in America. So, that's where he's at. So he has had time out. At least he has done a ban somewhere. It's a good fight with him and Dubois. What can I say? He's a big lump. He likes to tuck up, come forward. He's never been in with anybody who's really caused him any problems. And it's very difficult. He walks forward, he throws his shot from a tight guard, he uses his weight effectively. Dubois can punch, and I think the only way through it for Dubois with this is that, it's no good fighting backwards. I don't think Dubois is a backward fighter, and you can't really fight this kid off. Dubois got to kind of hit him hard early on and make Miller a bit more static, because the body weight he's got, and he seems quite fit for an heavy guy. He can get through the rounds, just walking you down, blocking the shots, tiring you out, and then whacking you with body shots, hitting you with head shots, and gradually grinding you down. Dubois got to be careful that he doesn't get disheartened, but he's got to let him know early on, let Miller know early on. He's got to give him some power, and make him realise he can punch. But it just depends then whether Dubois got enough confidence in himself, to get through the rounds and weather the storm. I think Dubois got the more power, but he's got the body weight. Miller, he's got the body weight, and it's hard to zap people like that. You've got to hit him clean on the chin. You've got to start hitting him in the head, and he's got to get clean shots on him.
Well, what I'm going to do is that the 3 big fights that are on that card, AJ, Wallin, Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker, and Miller versus Dubois. I'm just going to ask you for 3 quick predictions. Okay. No, so AJ, Wallin, rounds, points, decision, whatever.
I'm going to say AJ stoppage.
Wilder, Parker.
I'm going to say Wilder stoppage.
And Jarrell Miller, Daniel Dubois.
Difficult one, that. If Miller's going to win, it's going to be by
ifs.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Miller.
What? How points? Not.
Late stoppage.
We'll see. We'll catch up on this. And just before I let you go, Dom, I'm just curious, what's Dominic Ingle want for Christmas? Have you asked your missus for anything in particular this year for Christmas?
Do you know what? I'm not a big fan. I've got most things. It's like Christmas is for kids, innit? It's, I don't party and I don't drink, so it's a good time of the year. It's quieter.
New gilet?
No, I've got about 5 of these, haven't I? But yeah, listen, it's coming to the end of the year. It's been a good year for me. We've had some good boxing. We've had some good clients. So it's winding down. There's some good fights, and obviously this just before Christmas, which should be interesting. That'll settle everybody down, and then we're back into 2024, aren't we? So, for me, it's just business as usual. I've been on that many training camps over Christmas and the New Year. I think the last one was obviously Kelbrook and Amir Khan. And so it'd be nice to not have to worry too much about what I'm doing over Christmas and just chill and appreciate the time with the kids.
Well, I know for a fact there's going to be loads of people in January looking to lose weight. In advance, hit up Dominic Ingle on Instagram, because all the weight you put on over Christmas, I know you're a master at getting people's weight down through diet and nutrition. And the last thing, hopefully we'll have a bit of a catch-up maybe just after Boxing Day. I'm going to let the fans drop some nominees for these, not prizes, but these accolades that and I'm going to see if I'm going to give you the nominees to pick at. So I'm going to get people to give us some names for Fighter of the Year, Trainer of the Year, Prospect of the Year, Promoter of the Year, Broadcaster of the Year, and Knockout of the Year, which only goes to British and USA fights.
Well, you can send me that list, and when we do the interview after Boxing Day, we'll have a look. Because there has been some interesting stuff over the last 12 months. It's a bit sparse boxing, but there's been some decent stuff. So we'll have a talk about that.
We definitely will. Dominic Ingle is absolutely freezing. Let's get out of here. Thank you for your time.
Have you ever been stranded on the side of a motorway with a broken down car? Like me, is that something that worries you? That's where motor breakdown insurance comes in. If your vehicle breaks down, a trained professional will be sent out to get you back on the road. Or if this is not possible within the specified time frame, to transport you to your home or to the nearest garage.
You want anything bad enough? Don't make excuses. You gotta lose your time and your sleep for it. You find a way.